The buildings are already there, not being built, not being designed, just standing there. Massive stone structures with perfect symmetry, gigantic columns, and architectural precision that would challenge even modern engineers. But in the photographs around them, you don't see advanced machines, cranes, or construction crews. You see horses, dirt roads, people in simple clothes. So the question becomes unavoidable. Who actually built these cities? Because if you look closely at history, something doesn't add up. We're told that most of these monumental buildings across Europe and parts of Asia were constructed hundreds of years ago, during times when technology was incredibly primitive. No electricity, no heavy machinery, no modern engineering tools. Yet somehow, entire cities were filled with enormous stone buildings, cathedrals, palaces, libraries, and government halls that look like they belong to a far more advanced civilization. Take a moment and imagine what it actually takes to build something like that. Millions of stone blocks had to be quarried, shaped with extreme precision, transported across long distances, and assembled perfectly so the structure could stand for centuries. Every arch calculated, every load-bearing column perfectly balanced. Today, we would need computer modeling, massive cranes, specialized steel tools, and huge teams of engineers. But supposedly, people hundreds of years ago did it with chisels and wooden scaffolding. Does that really make sense? Now, here's where things start getting even stranger. When historians explain the origins of these buildings, you'll often hear a familiar story repeated again and again. A great stone structure was built, but before it existed, there was a small wooden building on the same site that mysteriously burned down. Then suddenly, construction of a massive stone masterpiece begins. The exact same story appears across dozens, sometimes hundreds of historical sites, almost like a template. A fire destroys a humble building, and then a monumental structure appears. But if these massive stone buildings were built later, another mystery appears. Where are the detailed construction records? Think about modern construction projects today. We have blueprints, engineering documents, budgets, contracts, architectural schools, training systems, and massive teams. But when we look back at many ancient structures, the supposed architects are almost ghosts. Their biographies are vague, their education is unknown, their drawings are missing, their students and schools are barely documented. Yet somehow they produced buildings that have survived hundreds or even thousands of years. And that leads us to an even bigger question. What if these buildings weren't built during the time we were told? Look at some of the earliest photographs from the 1800s. Many of the great cathedrals, palaces, and government buildings already look ancient in those images. Some are partially buried in soil. Others appear damaged or abandoned before being restored. In many cases, the surrounding cities look primitive compared to the buildings themselves. It almost feels like the people in those photographs are inheriting something rather than creating it, like they're living among the ruins of a forgotten world. And when researchers began comparing architectural details across continents, something even more fascinating appeared. The same design patterns show up everywhere. The same columns, the same domes, the same statues and symbols. From Europe to parts of Asia and even the Americas, the architectural language looks strikingly similar. It's as if these buildings were created by a single global culture, one that shared the same knowledge, the same artistic style, and possibly the same construction technologies. A civilization whose story may have been forgotten or rewritten. Now, of course, this idea challenges the traditional timeline of history, but history itself has always evolved as new discoveries appear. For centuries, people believed ancient civilizations were primitive. Then we discovered complex engineering in ancient Rome. Then we uncovered advanced astronomy in ancient cultures. Then we found lost cities buried beneath jungles and deserts. Every time we dig deeper into the past, we realize that the people who came before us may have known far more than we once believed. So what if these mysterious buildings are clues? Not just monuments of the past, but messages left behind by a civilization whose true story we haven't fully uncovered yet. Maybe our ancestors didn't start from scratch. Maybe they inherited the remnants of a much older world, a world whose knowledge was lost, whose cities were forgotten, and whose builders remain anonymous. And if that's true, then the greatest discovery in human history might still be waiting, hidden in plain sight, inside the very cities we walk through every single day. So the next time you see one of these ancient buildings towering over a modern skyline, ask yourself one simple question. Were they really built by the people we think? Or are we living among the remains of something far older than we've been told? And if that mystery fascinates you, make sure to subscribe, because the deeper we dig into history, the stranger the story becomes.